Hello, my name is Russ Martin. The LivRight video about Judge Diane Sullivan. My interaction with her lasted for about 3/4 of a year. I was transferred out of district court down to civil court. When that happened, they went through a process of trying to find a judge who would handle my case. They needed to find a judge who would obstruct justice. However, when I first met her, I will tell you, I liked her. She's a very personable judge. I figured, well, all right, let's give this a try. Let's see what happens. So she set me up with a new public defender, Benjamin Nadig. Benjamin Nadig. Look him up. You don't want this guy. So we started out. Benjamin couldn't keep his appointment date, and that was okay. I gave him a typed list, a communication to his staff, and I said, let's start with getting these elements. Let's get the police videos and pictures of me. Let's see if we can get that done. We're at about 3 and a quarter year. None of the other public defenders did it. So I gave them that as a simple instruction. And then I said it would be nice if you prepared a opening disclosure with the primary witness, Chris Adamson. Contact him. Let's get him to back up this document that I created, which is notarized. During this period of time, I was still waiting for Benjamin Nadig to show up. I waited a little longer. He didn't show and I left. I gave them time to communicate with me that they were doing it, getting back to me, telling me, yeah, we're getting these things. Nope, never did. I immediately filed a notice of a motion to dismiss. I dismissed him. Went in, had the meeting with Judge Diane Sullivan, and she says, well, do you mind if I keep him as a backup? I knew what she was doing. She wanted to keep him on the payroll so he would get paid. I knew it was a bunch of bullshit. I should have fired him anyway. But nonetheless, I said, okay, fine. So I digress a little bit. I got off track. In the first part of it, I meet in with her, and they're introducing me to her and setting up our relationship. Secretary comes out, hands me a document. It says State of Nevada charges, and it listed these 3 crimes, misdemeanor crimes. This was the purpose of getting me out of district court, because in district court, I would get a jury, and I was all prepared. I was ready to go. That's in another disclosure. That was with another judge. I even forgot who that was. I'm going to have to look it up. Anyway, we get down to this level. We got these 3 new charges. And I look at this document. The policeman's name is not there. There's no lawyer. There's no judge. There's nobody. No one is taking the responsibility of charges being brought against me, these 3 misdemeanor charges. And they were serious misdemeanors. They carry over a year. So now we've gone from 5 years down to in excess of 1 year. I look at the document, and I looked at Judge Diane Sullivan, and I held it up like this at her, and I showed it to her as a document. I said, who's a clown who created this document? Who's bringing charges against me? Is it you? Because you can't bring the charges against me. Secretary runs over, grabs the document from me, goes back, and puts Steve Wolfson's name on the document. Well, I told Judge Diane Sullivan, I'm going to need time to review these and respond. She said, okay. Then, during that period of time, I was dealing with Benjamin Nadig. He was assigned to me. He refused, so I discharged him. And in the same time I was discharging him, I reported to her. Under these 3 new misdemeanor charges, I am to be afforded a jury trial because it carries over 6 months in terms. And I'm getting better at things. I'm now beginning to understand to take the charge that's been charged against me, put it in Google. Don't go to the law library. That place is meant to just destroy you mentally. Waste of time. Put it in Google. Google will tell you what the charge means. And then once you've got that, look up law cases involving that charge and how to respond to it. And then there's another step I would go to. I'll go into that later. And how I found attorneys to help me outside of the United States. I had to go all the way outside of the United States. So, I'm in there with Judge Diane Sullivan. She's looking at the three of them and what I'm claiming in my motion. And she says, she denies them. She had already prepared because I put it on record. She denies them, and they take off 2 charges. They remove 2 of the charges. Boom! Just like that. I'm thinking to myself, And she's denying me my jury trial. I wanted the jury trial. I could hang them all with that. So, I go, all right. So now I'm left with 1 battery misdemeanor. Well, I go back to under battery misdemeanor. I go look it up again in this one last charge. And it says that the court, the legal system, the prosecutor only has 1 year to bring charges against me. So file another notice of motion. I file again for a jury trial, but this time I write under the jury trial that the legal system is committing criminal crimes against me and has already committed criminal crimes, and therefore there is no judge, no prosecutor, or a court system that can fundamentally dictate or, what was it? I had to look it up. It was a while ago. I had my attorneys do it for me. A court that could objectively represent itself because it had already violated so many constitutional laws as well as state laws. And so the only choice I had was with a jury. And this term, under this, it carried up to 6 months. It was 159 days, just short of 6 months. Perfect, huh? But nonetheless, I filed for it anyway, and I also filed that the jury had not, or the prosecutor didn't bring charges against me within 1 year, and therefore the charges had to be dropped. Judge Diane Sullivan dismissed them both. Particularly, remember that one, that the court only had 1 year to bring charges against me, hold me accountable. Otherwise, they had to drop it. And this has to do with an important issue. Because when you have to defend yourself and you think you're going to jail, you have to start preparing your family. You got to prepare your money. If you own a house, you're screwed. Bam! You can't make your house payments and you're thrown in jail for a year. Your car payments are done. Your credit cards, your whole life is thrown upside down. And that's why that law stands. But she violated it. Man, she violated it. She violated my rights to a jury trial. She disrupted everything. This meant that she was a criminal. That she was making decisions to find me guilty, regardless of evidence, regardless of witness, regardless of everything that I prepare. And again, I'm scared because all of the judges, every single one of them, has violated the Constitution of the United States and state laws. So now I'm tired of it. I've been fighting for over 3 years, and I just say, let's just get this over with. And so she set a date for November 20th, 2023. I prepare myself. I call Chris Adamson and I asked him, are you going to come to court on this date? And he says, I got a subpoena to come in. And I said, okay. I never had another conversation with him. We really didn't want to talk to each other. We wanted to keep a separation. So I show up for court and he's there. And this is where Judge Diane Sullivan really begins to show her ability to protect the business model of the state of Nevada. Her desire to protect Steve Wolfson, the man who had rewritten the charges and who has been conducting this case all along. You see, it's his responsibility to conduct the business model of how they do business at the Regional Justice Center. And he is hired by Aaron Ford, the state attorney general, who was hired by the governor, Joe Lombardo. And when you get into all of this, this is the chain. And another part of it is Stephen McMahill, the sheriff. All of these guys are in collusion with the business model, conducting this business model. Extortion, racketeering, and now has evolved into a Nazi system because all the people that are working within that system don't really want to give out their names. In the police internal affairs, they will not give you their name. They won't put their name on a document. Also, when I submitted to Aaron Ford, he wouldn't respond. His staff, Steve Wolfson's staff, would not respond. And the Commission for Judicial Discipline started out responding with the name of a person, but then now they just say the commission reviewed your documents. We don't find any wrongdoing. Well, how more simple does it get? How much simpler is it when you see falsified documents and evidence to it that the public defenders committed fraud, violating their fiduciary responsibilities? The internal, Nevada Bar Association, they won't respond. They don't want to waste their time with it because they know there's a business model of corruption and they're tired of responding to other people's requests. So anyway, I digress. Let's move on. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting in court and I don't see Robert Moose there. I'm all ready with my line of questions. I'm ready to go. My witness is there. And it's really a simple issue. There is no issue here. I'm just wondering, how is Diane Sullivan, the judge, going to find me guilty of something that has so much evidence and so much corruption in it? How is she going to find me guilty? How is she going to conduct her courtroom? Well, fear finally sets in to Robert Moose, and he won't come to court. He didn't come. He's on the phone with the prosecutor. Prosecutors got him on audio in the courtroom so everybody can hear him. And he's refusing to come in, that he has COVID-19. Judge Diane Sullivan starts to put him on blue jeans. It's where he can take his cell phone or his computer and hook into the court system and answer questions. He refuses to do it. I got COVID-19. I don't feel good. Not going to do it. Refusing. Judge, the prosecuting attorney, I can't remember her name, is doing her best to influence him to get on blue jeans. She was doing everything she could. He said he wanted a 20-day extension. I'm just sitting there waiting, wondering what's going to happen. I mean, it's not like I'm in court every day. You know, I'm just defending myself. I'm not a professional legal person. So anyway, he refuses. They hang up on him. They hang up. And they asked me, Russ, he wants a 20-day extension. Do you want to give him 20 days? And I said, I'll give the 20 days as long as he's got to be brought in on charges of premeditated attempted murder of me. Well, no, Mr. Martin, I'm not allowed to do that, she says. I'm not allowed to do that. He's violating a subpoena. Arrest him and bring him in. He committed attempted murder of me. Oh, Mr. Martin, I can't do that. Fine, I don't want him. No extension. We're done with this. He didn't show up. He's had 3 years to come to court. He's come to small claims. He's been to other courts. He can come today, and he's lying. We all know it. So she lets him go. At this given point, I know that Judge Diane Sullivan is criminal and corrupt. Here's what she says. She says, for court records, we're going to drop this case against Mr. Martin on the grounds that Robert Moose is not showing up in court. And also, that the state only had 1 year to bring charges against Mr. Martin. But when I filed my motion for it, she refused it. I don't care what the excuse is. That is a law that's there for a purpose to protect me from the criminal activities of the legal system. They had already been committing crimes for 3.75 years, almost 4 years, committing criminal crimes against me to induce me into pleading guilty, or I would go to jail for 5 years. I was prepared every time I went to court to be arrested again. I was arrested because of a criminal small claims judge, Eric Goodman. Look him up. I want that guy out of the courtroom. The point of all of this is, you cannot trust these people. It is not about what they say, it's what they're not saying that's important. And when they're not saying the right things, you know you are being manipulated. Judge Diane Sullivan needs to be put on a reserve list, removed from the court system. I like the lady. I really did. She's very personable. But she's part of the system that was destroying my income, my relationship with my wife and family. And now my daughter has to go to college. 5 years ago, I was making good money. And I had Gymstar, a weightlifting calculator that I was ready to start marketing. But for 3.5, 4 years, now 5 years, that software has gone out of date. I could not function. There were times I was under such stress because of the criminal activities of the legal system. I know that you're going through the same stress. The only way that we can make this work is that you do multiple things. You register your court case, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and if you can, make a donation. I don't care if it's only $5. It will pay for a banner. I intend on breaking the income of the state of Nevada. And through that, a message will be sent to these people. You will obey the Constitution of the United States, and judicial immunity is to be removed from the books. That law was created so that policemen can commit criminal crimes without retribution. And that's what they did to me. Anyway, I hope that you follow my leadership a little bit, even just a little bit. We will persevere. Okay? A little pinprick in the beginning, but after that, it'll become a real bleeding artery of the state.